Welcome to Film Study, an All American Universe podcast with Lexi. I'm Lexi. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, rate the podcast 5 stars, all of that good stuff. Uh, and yeah, today we're talking about Homecoming episode 209, Hard Place. No, we did not get to listen to the Her song by the same name. I'm kind of disappointed about that. Not gonna lie, but we did get Thea singing best part. There was
Let's see
anyway,
why.
I have Trez on the podcast today, aka
Hey.
TV_fiend on Twitter, and
Yeah.
I'll drop that
Oh,
all
you
in the
got that
description box below.
right.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I hope she doesn't say TV fiend.
No, underscore. Gotta put the underscore in there. But we're excited
Nice.
to talk Homecoming. And
Yes.
ready for it? Here's the thing. What were your thoughts on the overall episode?
I liked the episode.
Mm-hmm. It seemed a little hesitant.
Yeah, I feel like because I am fresh off of just watching it as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, my emotions are still pretty new. Because
Mm-hmm.
my initial thoughts are always the most chaotic. They're never thought
I
through.
feel that on
They
a
are
deep
never thought
spiritual
through.
level.
Yes. So everything I say tonight, today,
You're just like, don't
whenever,
hold it against me. It could
please.
change. I sometimes I do disclaimers. I'm like, look, we're recording this right after an episode, so be prepared that like
Right,
some
right,
thoughts
right.
may change because
Mm-hmm.
after you have a second to like sit with the
Right.
episode, sometimes it
Exactly.
changes your thoughts about it.
Right. Who I am now is not who I will be in 2 seconds. Okay.
Hopefully by the end of this recording, you'll like have a clearer thought of like
Right.
what you thought about it.
Right. So I will say, I will say overall it was a pretty good episode. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I And if you follow me on Twitter, you know I am a huge Damon stan. And
Mm-hmm.
I just, the way this episode ended, kind of, it put me in a bit of a ugh mood. Like, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, we
Yeah.
had to go there, we had to do that. But, I,
I did feel for him, I think, at the end of
I
this, for
did.
sure.
I did. And watching the episode and seeing his reaction, I just know that that is going to be um probably like stretched out into layers, like his reaction,
Mhm.
because his what we saw, like the initial reaction to me, it seemed like just shock for the most part,
Yeah.
which
No,
is
I agree.
understandable. So I'm assuming like in the coming episode we're gonna see him actually really go through the motions, and I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, and when we get
Mm.
to it, because I have more thoughts on just where his character trajectory from this season is, particularly the last couple of episodes in particular. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about Damon when we get there. But overall, I think I like the episode. I think it felt, and I don't sometimes I can't even put a finger on like what about episodes just make me feel like a certain vibe, but this episode felt like a classic Homecoming episode because it was focused on like the aspects of college, and
Yes.
I felt like things were pretty evenly split between like sort of Simone and Damon as well. I mean, like them having their own storylines. uh
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, there was just, I don't know, there's something about it I can't necessarily put my finger on, but it felt, yeah, a lot of the mental health. I think now that I'm like talking through it, it sort of reminded me of like the early early episodes of the show, like the
Yes.
first two or so, especially when there was
Yeah.
like a very strong focus on mental health, and I felt
Right.
that
Right.
in this episode, and I really appreciate it because I think that's some of the storylines that they do so well.
They,
Is
yes, they
like
do.
when
They
when
do.
they have these conversations about like what it means to be a student, what it means to be a
Mhm.
student athlete, and like
Mhm.
exploring all of that is. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I always think they do a good job with those episodes, and so this was no different. But getting into the storylines, um, I wanted to start with Marcus and Thea, the most unlikely
Pairing.
pairing that we've had thus far, I think, in the show.
Right. Yes.
Um, Marcus is in charge of a wellness circle. And
Mhm.
as we know from last episode, Thea has sort of had the yips, right? It's like when the tennis player
Mhm.
is throwing the ball up and they can't quite get it to their mind, because it's so much like hand-eye coordination, and you have to be so in tune with your body to
Yeah.
play a sport like tennis. And so she had the yips, and so she still has the yips in this episode, and Marcus is sort of checking on her and being like, you didn't sign up for, I know you were
Mhm.
cleared, but you didn't sign up for the wellness circle. And she's like, I don't want to go to no stupid wellness
Yeah, she was
circle.
like, I
She is,
think, what did she say? She was like, I just think it's ridiculous sitting in a
yeah,
circle.
exactly.
And
Yes,
I'm gonna be
Thea voice,
real. I'm gonna be
come through,
real.
Thea voice.
Like,
Usually I'm
I
the
am,
one to do it.
I am very like, I hate that I'm this way because in person I probably wouldn't be, but watching it on TV, it's like I was like, okay, Marcus, leave this girl alone. Like that was me because anytime,
Wait,
I,
you're doing a Thea voice and you're coming for Marcus? No, we need to have you on more.
I was like, Marcus, leave her alone. Let her struggle in peace. Like
We're struggling.
it's like I get it. I get not usually having people there to help you and doing everything on your own. I 100% understand that because I have family members like that, and it is frustrating to see people see them struggling and know that they need help and they refuse it and they still refuse it. But I don't know, and I think sometimes I forget they are playing teenagers still, like
Hmm.
in college.
Yeah.
So I have to remind myself, like, Trez, give a little bit of grace, give a little bit of grace. But my
Hmm.
first reaction, I was like, okay, bye. Marcus, go check on the baseball team or Amara or something. Like, I was
Not
like, okay.
Amara. Hold on now. I gotta pause you there. Not Amara, please.
I was like, go get some pancakes, Marcus, something.
Go get no,
Because,
not pancake. Go back to the baseball team. We don't want you
but,
at the pancake breakfast night.
but, it's very interesting to hear Thea. I mean, I can't, have I heard it before? Like, I know people say, but I don't think I've actually heard anyone say that in real life, quote unquote. Like, oh, sitting in a circle just talking about your feelings, it's ridiculous, it's stupid. Like, I don't think I've actually heard someone say it like that, like put it like that. I've heard people say,
Mm,
oh, I don't think therapy is for me, or counseling, or whatever you want to call it. But like, I don't know, it's interesting to hear her phrase it that way. And then we have gotten a bit of her background from when her mom had come. I can't remember which episode that was.
right. It was,
And
yeah, a couple episodes ago.
yeah, and we find out that she really comes from like supportive, loving parents, but she in a way chose to isolate herself. She wanted to focus on tennis, and that's how she built
Hmm.
the bond with her grandmother and that. So it seems like, at least I don't know, this is how I perceived it. It seems as though Thea more or less made that decision on her own to isolate herself, to just focus on tennis and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But it's like it's hindered her from becoming a well-rounded person. Like, she actually can't talk about her feelings to anyone. Relationships, like being in a romantic relationship, is hard, as we've seen with Damon. It's a struggle. She feels like she's being too consumed into the relationship and into him, when really she's probably just opening up as a person, as more than what she thought she was. And I'm
Yeah.
just,
No, I
I
agree.
don't know. I'm having. I have a hard time with Thea. She is not my favorite. Like she's not my
Mhm.
fave. So I don't know. I think for me, I struggle with her because it's like, but you chose this. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
you are the creator of this chaos of your own unhappiness. I mean, not to be so like, crude and cruel about it like that, but she chose this life. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
No, I think
the empathy for me on my side is hard for me to
like
empathize with
it's
her.
not very high right now.
It's really not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me and this story, and obviously she ends up being like, that her mind has never failed her, right, when she's listening to that other player and that she doesn't need therapy, etc., etc. And then I so am apologetic because I did not catch the name of the tennis player that Marcus ended up inviting
Oh,
to
I
talk
didn't
to her.
either. I just know she was
Um
beautiful.
yeah, she was gorgeous. She was gorgeous, and I was like, I know this person is very important in the
In the sport
tennis, but
world.
I sorry I missed your name.
Yeah.
Also, this is a side note. I'm like, where's Marcus getting all these friends? At
Oh,
first,
oh, girl,
he ends up getting
no,
Reggie Bush, and I'm like,
listen.
please
When he
stop.
said, when she said, "Oh, my coach is Coach Marcus's friend," I'm like
Yeah, I
literally,
was
I
like,
was sitting in my bed watching. I was like, "Who doesn't Marcus know? You were in the minor
exactly.
leagues for like 2 seconds.
Thank you. It just doesn't make
How do
sense.
you make all these connections? Like,
Stop
what
trying to
was
make
your
fetch happen. Stop
what
trying
was
to make
your
fetch happen.
what was your networking formula? Like, did you
No, honestly
what?
though, but honestly, what we said at the beginning of this is like Marcus just does not take no for an answer. So he's moved through life
Yeah.
that way. So he's met all these people. That's what I'm gonna tell myself to make myself feel better. Is that like Marcus is he's just a pro because people just confide in him, obviously, and he doesn't like for better or for worse, like leave them alone. Like he's going to talk to you. So that's how he knows all these people. But back on Thea, I think and to sort of wrap up her storyline a little bit is that she I think she reminds me of like stereotypical homeschool kids. uh and I was homeschooled for a little bit, so I'm like, I don't like knock the whole like they're socially inept or whatever. But I think there's
Okay.
something to be said about like leading a sheltered life, and again, for better or for worse, she did choose that life. But she led a very sheltered life, and I think whether you're a homeschool or you're a dedicated athlete, I think this happens to like kids in the industry a lot, right? Because they're so singularly focused on one thing in their life, they don't have these sort of like normal experiences that kids who just go to traditional school go through. And so they're a little bit sort of behind the curve, and so when they get to college, they're sort of just, like exploring and finding themselves for the first time. I feel like college is about
Right.
finding yourself, but I feel
Yeah,
like that's
$100%.
a whole nother level when you have kids who are sheltered. They used to like I worked in res life for a little bit. That's one of the things they would like hammer into us, is that there's a lot of kids that are coming and they come from sheltered lives, and so you gotta watch out for those kids because it's this is the first time they're really on their own. And so I feel like that's Thea. But the other thing that I found was interesting, and I'm glad that she eventually overcame it, was that, and shout out to mindfulness, because mindfulness works. Mindfulness works. It's a really,
Yeah, it
really great
does.
practice. Um, I was very surprised that, and I think maybe this has to do with it being her first injury ever, but I was very surprised that she uh had this, to your point, that her character, not that like the words that she was saying was weird, but that her character was so closed off to this wellness circle, and so closed off to admitting that she had a stop in her mind, because she
Mhm.
helped Simone when Simone was having a panic attack. And so I
Mhm.
think that was a disconnect for me, where I was just like, is it because she's never actually gone through an injury, so now she is sort of not taking her own advice? Um and so maybe it was just that she's never had to deal with this particular challenge before, so she didn't know how to deal with it. But it was interesting just for me because we had that episode last season where she was the zone equals love, right? I feel like that was
Right,
one of
right.
the
Yeah,
best
yeah, yeah, yeah,
moments
yeah.
together. And so for
Right.
her to have to come back around to this idea of mindfulness and this idea of like centering herself, I felt like was
Hmm.
very an interesting route to take, and I hope that they expand on that
I,
more.
I will say, I do feel as though Thea has a hard time grasping her emotions. Like,
Mhm.
I feel like emotions are complex as well as they aren't. Like, I feel like
Mhm.
there are in some instances, I feel, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I feel
I
she,
think she's just
like,
trying to expand her emotional vocabulary, and she can't always
yes.
do that.
And I feel like sometimes it's hard for her, which
Yeah,
is
she
why
can't always do it.
yeah, like why she had this like block, right?
Yeah.
And why
No, I
she just
agree.
she couldn't push through. And I think that that was also what was happening. Like a why can't I, like, okay, my shoulder's healed, took enough cortisone shots or whatever, like it's healed up or whatever, boom boom boom. So like why can't I get through this? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah. No, you're right, and I think it's again, it'll be interesting because I do feel like she's lived a sheltered life, and so to get her, I think we should get her mom back. I mean, feel like that would be interesting, and I don't know. I'm interested to see where her story goes from here. But quickly, wanted to shift to Cam very quickly before we hop into Damon, the baseball team, and Simone. Um, number one, number one.
the singing,
Please stop. Please stop.
like,
Please stop
okay,
making
we
Mitchell
have
sing. I
Nate
feel
and
like
Simone.
Mitchell at
The
this
thing
point
is,
is tired of singing.
the thing is, Mitchell has a beautiful voice.
A
He
great
does. Like,
voice.
I'm not saying that he can't sing.
It's just too
It's at
much.
random moments, and
And it's like full like
the
verses.
full
Like what
song,
we
yes,
don't need
verse,
full
chorus, bridge,
verses.
like it's the full song, and I'm like, Cam, please.
Please. Please stop.
And
But
it's
we know that
always
he
in the most random places. It's in
randomest
like the
places.
cafeteria
Exactly.
area thing, and now in like the
Yeah.
lounge area by the. It's just,
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
it's a
I
lot.
feel like
Yeah,
maybe it's a running joke to the casting crew at
maybe
this
it
point.
might be,
But
but for us, it's not a joke. We're tired.
for us, we're tired. Imagine how tired we are. Imagine how tired
Exactly.
we are of it. No, but he was singing
Exactly.
because they're rushing and do running errands as they so often said, right? New job, all of the things that they said because they couldn't say they were rushing. But it was interesting because I thought, like, in terms of this particular rushing story, I was like calling him aneurysm boy is a little bit much, but I feel like
Yeah, that was.
with
I was like, I need Crenshaw Cam to pull up because
yeah, he was just taking it. It was really
it
weird.
was. That was a bit. That was harsh to me.
It
I
was
don't know.
harsh, but I also appreciated the conversation and dialogue it created because I think they gave Gabby some really great lines about, and I sort of want to I want to like get this as close to verbatim as I can, but after he talks to her about it, she's talking to JR,
Jr. Yeah.
and she's like, I'm questioning your personal ideologies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she tells him like, is your approach to being line leader, right?
Hmm.
Is this going to be a positive experience? Are you going to focus on positivity, your ideology, or is it going to be negativity? And that
Right. Yeah.
people, just because you had to go through a certain way,
Hmm.
you rushed in a certain way, doesn't mean that that
It
has to
does.
be the experience. You don't have to break these men down to build them back up. And I feel like that was a really great,
That was
you
beautiful. I
know,
loved it.
it
I
was
love
it
that
was
scene.
beautiful. It was
I loved
beautiful,
that
and
scene.
and then JR coming back and getting the groceries for the gentleman, and taking him out to dinner and showing that it's really about community service. I think it, because some of the things is like in TV they always do these outlandish things to show Greek life, and I think particularly with HBCUs it's such a right. I was gonna make a joke when it was just like when Simone was saying the exquisite eight, because I was just like the divine nine. I
The
mean the
Divine
exquisite
Nine.
eight. I mean the exquisite eight. Because there's it's so deeply personal, and it's so deeply cultural, and I don't have that experience having not attended an HBCU. But I appreciated just, the aspect of showing this balance, that it is
Yes.
about community, and that you can be it can be a good experience. But I do know that there is some people who were genuinely like, this is not how
This is not it.
Greek
Yeah,
life
I
is.
saw
Yeah,
those
this is not
tweets.
Greek life.
I saw those
Yeah,
tweets.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't
So
know
what
much
did you think
about it
about Cam?
myself.
Hmm.
Well, Greek life. I have cousins that have pledged, but I personally, I went to university in the UK, so I don't know that life.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I would like to. Hopefully, they didn't like, but yeah, I saw the tweets. Some people loved it, and then some people, yeah, they weren't for it.
They were not
With
fans.
Cam, I liked Cam's storyline this episode. I
Yeah,
I
me
really
too.
did. I the I you know I loved the conversation between him and Gabby. Like I love that she caught on to what he was talking about. Like when he was what did he say? He said oh, I have this new job, and
Yeah,
I'm trying to form relationships or bonds with my coworkers. And like she caught on like right away, and I loved the advice she was the MVP, one of the MVPs this
she
episode.
was.
Like
She was.
between Cam and JR, she really set the tone, I think, for that change um within JR and within the frat itself to be made. Like the whole, you don't have to break them down.
Hard
I
agree.
thought she played a really pivotal role. I love her and Cam's. I do love that we're still keeping up with her and Cam's like friendship.
Same.
I
Same.
do appreciate that. Like, it's not something that is like, oh, she's JR's girlfriend now, so her and no, like they're still very much, and they're still alluding to the fact that he's still in the Glee Club, whatever that their sing group song sing group is.
Yeah, I never
But
remember the name. They say
the
it all the
ATLs,
time, and I'm like,
the
yeah,
ATLs, the
hey,
ATLs,
thank you.
the ATLs,
I'm
yeah.
a hopefully I'm a remember that. I can't keep it. I said hopefully. Hopefully I will remember.
But I loved Cam's storyline this episode. I don't know if they're carrying are they carrying this the Greek aspect of this into next episode? I'm not completely sure. I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm
So
not
it's
sure.
yeah. But I
I'm
was
sure
here
it'll
for
pop back up
I was
regardless
here
one day.
for I was here for Cam this episode, I must say. And I do love, like you said, you spoke about earlier, the community aspect of it, because I know for a fact, like my cousin, she pledged Delta when she
Hmm.
went to, I think it's Xavier, is it Xavier University? I think, can't remember, but they did a lot of
Yeah,
community outreach. I mean, like a lot of community outreach, a lot of volunteer service work. They hammered that home, so I thought it was really nice to see on that side of things. And then it shows that Greek life is more than just, I think especially people that want to go to a HBU or are just interested in the aesthetic of Greek life. Like they see, the stepping and like the glamour, I guess. And then they see the sisterhood and the brotherhood, and they're like, "Oh, I want that." But it's more than just about that. Like it's
yeah.
about community. It's about outreach. It's about supporting each other's um, in the community, and like going back to like my cousin, she like she's very close with her line sisters. Like that's naturally like a sisterhood. Like they take that very seriously. So I think I appreciated it.
Yeah.
I really did.
Yeah.
I did.
Same here.
I did.
Same here. I think you know, I sort of want to go to I want to go to Simone, but I'm going to leave Simone for the end. But obviously JR had I think was juggling multiple things in this episode because in addition to stuff with KEK, the baseball team had some good news, right? I think they were number 24 in terms of the top
Yeah, of the
25
top 25,
uh
yes.
baseball teams in the NCAA, which is a lot. Like that's kind of I thought they were going to be like the top 25 in the
10.
region,
Oh,
but like
oh.
they were just like, "No, it's the whole NCAA." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Okay.
they was like,
Wow."
yeah, we gotta get Brinkston on because they've been sucking lately. We gotta make them look a
They were like, "We
little
got to make them good," and I was
right.
just like, "Well, I was just like, now it makes sense why Damon was going to be the number one overall pick if he can if he can
Yeah.
take little Brixton and bring
Yep.
them up to number
Yep.
24. That's kind of
Yep.
crazy."
Yep.
But yeah, they've been on a streak, and so they get new sponsors, and obviously we were just mentioning rushing, and so basically just there was a lot going on for the baseball team in terms of their success, and it sort of distracted them from the game. Santiago, which you know, I feel like Santiago is always causes mess. I feel like Santiago is always in something. He's always complaining. He's always whining.
My thing is, I'm like Santiago, literally, like was he kept on talking about those Happy Meals, whatever the hell they were, um all
Hmm.
episode, and like now you up to bat and you can't bat to save your life, like save me the
Right.
tears. David out here trying to tell y'all like, okay, yeah, cool, we won a little game or whatever, but we still played sloppy, like that was
Yeah.
luck. Like we're not training as hard as we're supposed to, we come into practice late, like y'all are not serious.
Yeah.
And people on the
Yeah.
TL
No,
were
and I think
booing him. They were booing him. They were like, David, you acting
really.
uptight. I'm like, I
I think
mean,
I feel like that's any sort of athlete, and I know they were trying to make a
right,
point specifically about his dad, which, you know, obviously his dad. He told his dad, which is something that he and his dad had talked about growing up about the top 25, and his dad, was just like he has Alzheimer's, so he was just like, "Oh yeah, it's great," But you're in high
right,
school, right? He thought he was in high school. He thought it was a freshman in high school, which was very sad. And so obviously he was affected by that. But when Damon was coming to, and I'm gonna uh, do a like line of demarcation here, specifically when Damon was talking about they shouldn't be happy about that win.
hmm,
I was just like, that is just normal behavior for an athlete. Like
yeah.
we barely beat those
We
guys. Like
barely, like
we should
barely,
have ran them over, right? And so I
right.
think he was justified in that. I think
Hmm.
when you actually started to see the impact of his dad truly was the second game when he was about to get into a fight with
Hmm.
Santiago, and that's when
I
I was like, "All
agree.
right, David, come on,
Yeah,
come on."
because he was actually about to get physical, so that
He was
you know
actually
that
about to get
okay,
physical.
yeah, like there was more anger there, and it was coming from
Yeah.
somewhere else other than just
Yes.
them being
And
having
so,
like sloppy plays and that. Yeah.
and good old Superman Marcus came through.
Marcus. You
Turned and
know,
took off the
Marcus.
Clark Kent glasses, and he was just like, "Let me."
What he said? He's like, go to the showers. He's always
Literally,
screaming. He is
always
always
screaming.
screaming. You know what
But
killed
I
me?
do, and I think he works. I think first of all, I did appreciate how he helped Thea, and I appreciate how he helps all the kids.
I did.
But I
I
do
did.
think there is something special for him when he is talking to Damon and connecting with the other players of the baseball team because that's his lane. And so I think that scene that he had with Damon was special where he's just like, "Well, no, I wanted you to tell me about it. Like JR didn't tell me about your dad because I want you to tell me about your dad." And that is some of the most authentic stuff, and that personally I rag on Marcus a lot just because I need somebody to rag on sometimes. But uh that I think is his bread and butter of this show, is like being there as a true coach and as a true guide for the guys of the baseball team.
He plays a beautiful father figure.
Yeah.
Like, I Corey is doing the damn thing. Sorry, I'm not sure if I can say that, but he
Okay.
is really doing
He
it
is.
with that role. Like, and I think he also takes pride in playing that role, and you can tell that he does. Um, I do really like the bond he has with Damon. Like, I feel like it's so special. Like, it's so special to me that I remember in the beginning of the show, I thought that Marcus, when they were trying to figure out who Damon's like parents were,
You thought it
I
was
thought
Marcus.
Marcus I thought Marcus was his father, but then I was like, nah, that's too obvious. But I did, because as the episode went on and I realized no one really had asked Damon like what was wrong with him, like what was
Mhm.
going on.
Yeah.
We knew that JR knew about his father, but like I don't think we didn't get to see Damon and JR actually have a conversation about it until like after the fact, like after the game.
Yeah.
So I thought I really did appreciate Marcus going to him one on one and really sitting down with him and asking him, what is going on? Like,
Yeah, it's
why
one
are
of my
you
favorite
acting out?
conversations of the episode.
Yes, I agree. Even if he doesn't remember like those memories and those moments, you will. Damon's storyline kind of hits me really hard because to get a little personal, I my grandmother has Alzheimer's. So I 100% understand exactly where he's coming from, and the pain of not being able to relive certain moments or memories, or even talk about the things that you used to talk about or experience with this person because they can't remember them anymore. And there are a few moments in between the foggy mind where they have moments of clarity, and it's like, oh, you're so and so, or I remember this happening, and you have to catch them because they're so fleeting. So like that line that Marcus gave to Damon about holding on to the memories that you do have, and those moments, because although he doesn't remember them, you do, and you hold them close to your heart. I thought that was perfect. I kind of took that as well because I have moments in my life, like as I'm growing and I'm going through certain things, and I realize I'm like, okay, if my grandmother was able to be here in her full mind, she'd be my
Yeah.
biggest cheerleader right now. Sorry, I did not mean to get this personal,
Oh,
but
yeah, I'm like over here in tears.
I relate. I relate. I relate. I
Yeah.
relate. And whoever wrote snaps,
No,
because
I have
they
to
did that.
agree.
They did that. They
My
did that.
and I um don't have a family member that like struggled with Alzheimer's, but hearing you talk about like your grandmother just made me think of my grandmother um who passed away. And to your point, I think they did a really good job just in general, like talking about loss. And it that ending like gutted me, and I was just like,
Yeah,
they've
that's
been
what I'm
going
just like.
through it.
And
Yeah.
he's packing, and
To
he
go
like
see him, and
he was so
you know
excited too to
so
go.
excited, and seeing just his growth, I think, as a person in terms of his dad. um because he, in season 1, he was this guy that was so frustrated with his dad, and frustrated that
Yeah,
his dad didn't remember. So to see him come to this point where he was just like, no, I need to go and spend time with my father.
Yes.
And like it it's like one of the things about TV that I think sucks is that like writers really sit in a room and they're just like, how can we make it worse for this character? Um and no, it was literally like just at the moment where you're just
No,
completely
I get it. Yeah.
happy, happy
Yeah.
for him.
Yes.
And that's just like, and that's what I was, yeah, I
Yeah,
was just
that
like,
was
look, I know we got to make it worse, but like Damon going through a breakup, like going through the challenges that he went through in the last episode with questioning himself, and now, he's finally getting to a place where he is like appreciating the time that he
and
has
the
with his
thing is,
father.
what's sad about it is, to your point when you were saying that how he was so frustrated because it's his
Hmm.
dad made these in season one, like his dad made these mistakes and he he can't own up to them, he can't take accountability for them because he can't remember. I feel like in this episode Damon made peace with the fact that his father
He
would never
did.
remember. And
He
I
did.
feel like that when it comes to Alzheimer's, that is a huge, that takes so much like acceptance, because I just accepted that my grandmother wouldn't remember things this year. And like it's literally like you have to tell yourself they like it's not their fault. You have like their
Yeah.
mind is just not there. It's a the mind is sick. It's that simple, and they have no control over it at all. And I feel like this episode, Damon was at peace with it, so much so
Yeah.
that he was just so like happy to just go and
I'm just
enjoy
so
time with his
happy.
dad. And
Yeah.
then the thing is, when the door, like when it was a knock on the door, I thought it was Thea. And I said, the devil is a liar. We are not doing this. I
Stop!
cannot do
You got me
this.
going through a range of emotions. Yeah, I'm literally like, my eyes are tearing up right now. Then you make a joke about, what is this?
I was like, I'm not doing this. And then when I saw Marcus,
Yeah,
I literally stood up and I was like, no. I literally said
I
no because
saw it coming. Yeah,
I knew when he walked through that door, I said, y'all are not going to do this to him. Y'all are
when
not.
he was packing that bag, I was just like, don't do it, writers. But I know you're going to because I know how writers' rooms work. But I was just like, please don't do it. And funny thing about I mean, not the funny thing, but the thing about the scene is that it felt so long. Like it was just like it took everything for Marcus to finally come out and say it. He was just like, I was looking for you after the it was just like like
Yeah.
just say like rip the band-aid off Marcus because you're literally just like, I don't know, just it it was a it was a great scene. It was a
Yeah,
great
it
scene.
was a beautiful scene. Both
Beautiful
scenes,
scene.
the one in
Yeah,
the cafeteria and then the one at the end. It was just, we
agree.
went from happy
Yeah.
homecoming writers. I'm just the emotions. Okay, I
The
can't
roller
do this every
coaster.
Monday. Yeah,
The
it's a
roller
lot.
coaster.
It's a
The
lot.
roller
It's a lot.
coaster.
It
Yeah,
is a lot.
and we'll talk about that more when we get to what's coming up next. But on the a lot, obviously we've mentioned how wild rushing was. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie. Obviously, that it was this. Nate is preparing for the presidency.
Hmm.
She is getting all of her ducks in a row,
Yes.
and campaigning hard. What did Simone call her? Politician Barbie,
A politician
which was really
Barbie. Yeah.
cute. Yeah, which was cute. And she was trying to. Simone said that she
Mm,
would help her like post all of the posters around campus, but
yeah.
obviously PKZ presented some challenges with that. I
Hmm.
thought that the Nate storyline, which, sorry, side note, again, I said this sort of as an observation, but it's really ending up being true, is that they keep alternating Nate and
And
Keisha
Keisha.
episodes, and I'm
Yeah.
very interested to know why that is. But aside from that, um, you know, I thought that most of the storyline was going to be focused on Simone and Nate. And I actually like I love that they came back together, but I feel like they're coming back together for being like a legitimate storyline between the two of them. It felt
Mhm.
too soon because it was hardly a storyline. I was just like,
Yeah.
I need
Yeah.
more. I
Yeah.
need more. I need the tension to drag out just a little bit at least, because I felt like the
Yeah.
true tension was between Simone and her line sisters, where she was just like,
Mhm.
you don't trust us, and I thought that we stuck up for you,
Mhm.
obviously, with the one line sister who we know from the other episode. I don't remember her
Yeah,
name,
I can't remember her name. Yeah.
but and then Simone sort of, with the help of Lando, which we'll get to Lando in a second, but with the help of Lando realizing that because of her experience with the tennis team that she really didn't trust her line sisters. And I felt like that was the storyline of the of for Simone, and with like this Nate campaigning thing
Right.
and maybe her losing herself, that was like a back. That was that was almost like a yeah, it was almost like a C storyline in this episode, and I
Mhm.
was kind of shocked about that.
Yeah. I don't know. I can never see. I'm not sure if I can ever really see Nate and Simone tension last for more than one episode.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I
Because
just thought it would
Nate
last a
is,
little bit longer in this
yeah,
episode.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Nate is very
She doesn't
understanding.
hold yeah, she doesn't
She
hold
doesn't hold a,
grudges. She's
yeah,
so
no,
empathetic.
except for with Nico, I feel.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But I
yeah.
feel like not even with Nico, and I think that was her whole storyline, is that she gave him a second chance and then had
Mhm.
to sort of find out that you can't give everybody second chances.
Right. Okay, okay. I can see that. Yes. Yes.
So yeah, Nate ugh, I just want to know more about her and just always explore more of her storyline.
Right, more
Um
Nate Nathaniel Harden. But
yes, more
yeah,
Nathaniel.
I can't see Nate and Simone being at odds for too long. Like,
Oh,
Nate is far too
1000%.
understanding. So it wasn't a shock to me that they was like resolved
Right.
that their little conflict by the end of the episode, before the end of the episode, really. Like, so I feel like if within the group, I feel like the tension would definitely be like last a really long time between Keisha and Simone.
You are
Um,
the second person to say, and I
for
agree, by the
sure,
way. But
for
it's so
sure, for
funny
sure.
that we've had that in sort of consecutive weeks. But I 1000% agree. I'm
Yeah.
just it's really interesting that they chose, and I guess I'm thinking more from a plot perspective rather than a character perspective. Is that it
Mm-hmm.
was a really interesting choice by the writers to highlight uh this thing with her line sisters,
Yeah.
because um I just thought it was really interesting in having her sort of apologize uh at the end for like not trusting them. I was just like, this is just an
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah. Because in
choice.
all honesty, right? I didn't even
Yeah,
think about it. I didn't think about the whole, like, when she had mentioned the PTSD with the
right.
tennis team.
When
I
Lando
did not.
said other girls, I was like, what are they talking
No,
about?
seriously, no,
I was just like,
seriously.
I'm
When
not
he
even gonna
said
hold you.
that,
I was like, is he talking about like all American? Like, is he talking about LA? I
no,
was really
no.
confused. I
A
was like, is
part
he
of
talking
me,
about Layla?
a,
What?
not Layla. A part of me
I
was
was
like,
really confused.
is he talking about like her old life? Because I
That's
was
what
genuinely.
I legitimately thought he was talking about
But
LA.
then when she said, "Oh yeah, PTSD with the tennis team," I was like,
I was like,
"Wow, I did
oh
not think
yeah, I
about
forgot
that."
about that. Yeah, I was like, I forgot about
Like,
that.
I really, I didn't think about that. I really didn't,
I also
honestly.
feel like it was because at this point in time, that, at least to me, I feel like that had already resolved itself. And we literally had just even though it went on for a really long time, and I'm not saying it didn't, but because we literally just had this thing with with Tootie in the previous episode where Tootie was like, "Oh yeah, I would never do that to you." So it was like a recency bias, I think, for myself to
Mm,
be like, "Oh yeah,
gotcha.
things are fine," and like
Things
I
are
think the
fine
other
now,
girls, yeah,
right?
the other girls had like warmed up to her, and it was like, and then she had this whole thing with Tootie because Tootie was the main one who was sort of driving this, and now she and Tootie are okay, obviously, like her and Thea figured it out. So I was just it just wasn't top of mind this payoff, right, for this storyline that they did with the girls in tennis, which is why she ended up right. This is why she ended up joining PKZ in the first place. So it ended up being good. It was just like
Right.
that connection, I think. That connecting piece was
Yeah.
lost, at least to you and I, and maybe
Yeah,
some of the
yeah.
other audience as
Right.
well.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, cuz like you said, um that was her point, right? For
Hmm.
wanting to join PKZ, to have this sisterhood and this community that she couldn't get from the tennis team. So so when
Yeah.
he said that line, I was like, what we talking about?
Well, at
Like,
least Lando was paying attention because he's down bad.
child, because
He's down
I
bad
I
for
was
her.
like, okay, not you making sense. You
Lando,
really do,
and
but
I was just last episode I was just like I definitely think he's still more down bad for her than she is for him, but I was
one
just like I
hundred
think
percent.
last week I was still in a place where I was just like I don't know if she's really feeling him all that much, but I think that episode changed. I think she's really feeling him, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
so
I
what
think she's getting there.
y'all dancing around this little official status, so when we gonna
Hmm.
make this thing official? And also, when is Damon going? What is Damon
Listen,
gonna do?
I am about to throw in the Damon towel because I don't know what's
Really?
going on.
No, you
Yeah, like I'm
look.
confused. I'm confused.
Season two for main. I mean, well, again, I still think that they're gonna come back around. Let me just say that. Let me just say that.
I've
So it's
heard season
always they're
two.
always in the
I've heard
trenches.
season two they be bad. Like I heard
Yeah,
season two be awful, but I'm
yeah.
sorry, I can't take that.
You're just like
So
this
I'm
slow
just
burn
like,
thing is not for me. Yeah, I do think it's interesting, and we saw, I think, a conversation that she would typically have with Damon. Um,
hmm
when Lando was saying all that he was saying about her line sisters, that's a conversation that she would typically have with Damon, and so I feel like that's the switch that was flipped for me, at least, to say like, oh, she's really into this man, because the last episode she wasn't even trying to tell him about the drug
right,
test.
right, exactly.
And so now
So
she's
it's
just
like,
like feeling comfortable confiding in him. He's leaving her
yes,
presents by her door. I'm just like, okay, well, Simone, if you like this man, then you better.
child, she surely like
And he's a
him.
good looking man, and he doing all this for you? Girl, you better stop tripping, and y'all better make this official.
Oh Lord, next week is. Oh, well, we'll talk about
Next
it
week
later.
we gonna
But
see. Well, let's talk about next week. I'm kind of excited. Which
I don't even know what's
again, I think this
happening.
was a great episode. So shout out
It was a
to.
great episode. It's just the end. The end
Yeah, it
was
was
like a
very
gut punch for
heartbreaking.
me,
It was.
and I was just like, okay, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
What am I
yeah,
supposed to do with that information? Like,
yeah, yeah. So shout out Allison and Christopher for writing a great episode.
yes,
Um,
shout out to them.
so next week's episode 210. Thanks for listening to Film Study and All American Universe podcast, and stay tuned for our homecoming episode 210 210 prediction.